101 Awakening, let's talk about the meat in you. I was just listening to another creator's message on the meat products that humans are consuming now. And it's funny that the post came up because today I had lunch with my nephew and his daughter, so my grandniece. They came for a visit, so we decided to go for lunch at this faux restaurant. Of course, when it came to ordering, I ordered myself a vegetarian food because I can no longer eat meat while I went through my awakening. Of course, my nephew ordered this delicious looking food that I used to eat, but I had no sense of smell. So it didn't really bother me that much. What bothered me is what I'm looking at. A butchered meat. So my grandniece ordered a soup with meat in it. It was a big bowl of soup, and she didn't end up finishing it. So her father said, "We'll take it home, you could eat it later." So I told her what I was going through, that I do not believe in eating meat. And I said to her, I made an example. So first, I had to turn her off in a way that she will never eat meat again. So I said to her, you know what happened during the COVID time? A lot of people died. They didn't really show you. They tell you the numbers of people that died, but they didn't tell you where they all buried them. They just showed them piled up, like the Holocaust, right? Then I said to her, so if you drive around the city or the farm areas, how many farmers do you see on the land? How many cows are there on the farmland where you see animals, pigs, rabbits, chickens, whatever it might be? So I said to her, how many billions of people in the world today? 8.2 billion living people in the world. And I said, how many McDonald's, Tim Hortons, the big franchises are around the area where you live in, let alone the whole world? So we're kind of calculating it ourselves, right? And I said to her, do you think a lot of those animals can produce that much meat for all the people in the world every single day? And we discussed about how long does it take for a cow to be bred, let it grow, maturity, and then butcher it for human consumption. And then I said, if McDonald's can produce 6 million burgers in a month, how many cows is that they need to pile on a daily basis, right? Or weeks or a month, whatever the supply is. Who is giving them this supply that they can accommodate all the McDonald's in the world? How many farmers are they renting? And are there enough farmers in the world to supply all their needs? So now she's kind of hesitating. Okay, where are you getting into this now? So I said to her, well, think about this. When you go to a funeral home, they open the casket so you could see the body, and then they close it and they put it back in the freezer for the next day's viewing. And that could happen up to 3 days or 7 days, depending on the family's requirements, right? Then you go for the funeral day where you're going to see it buried, supposedly. But have you noticed that every funeral you go to, they roll down the casket down the ground, but you never really see the soil going on the casket and covering the ground? Do you now? So one of the Dave Grivers on TikTok is talking about this himself. That's his job, to dig graves for coffins to go into. So one day his boss said, come and help me move this casket to another area. And when they lifted the casket, he said it didn't feel like it had anything inside of it. So now he got curious, and guess what? Where are the bodies going? I mean, have you thought about it too? How many cemeteries are popping up in every city that they build. Remember what I said? Every corporation is in it together, right? Everything is being hidden from you and for you. Have you ever thought about this? When you die in the hospital, where do you go? In the morgue for preservation. Then you go to the funeral home, and where do you go? In another preservation. And then you see the casket go down. Where did it come from? From preservation. It's still freshly frozen. So now they ushered you, go away, service is done, go home now. They gotta rush you out because they gotta do another preservation. But preservation from what? So anyways, back to animal eating. I hope you're getting this now, right? Is there really a supply and demand for meats to eat? Don't forget, everything that they preserve, they have to inject it with something to keep it preserving. So what are you eating in that meat? So then I just poke her like this, and she said, ow. I said, oh, you felt that, eh? So I said, what do you think would happen if I did that to a cow? Do you think the cow will jump and jolt it? She said, I think so. Of course it would. It has a soul like you. Because I told her about the story of the human body. It doesn't perform unless there's a soul inside of it that will control its mind to react to the environment. So I said, do you think a cow has a soul? She said, yeah, I guess so, because it flinched. And I said to her, you do know that when you die, there's a spirit inside of you that lifts up. She said, yes. Well, where does it go? She said, to heaven. Well, if that came from heaven, where do you think the cow's soul is from? Also from the same family of soul as you, because we all came from the source of heaven. So I said, God will never ask you to eat your own soul, family. So why would you? Then I said, how many times do you think that cow died so you can eat it? She said, 1 time. I said, no, about 20 times. By the time you scope it, harass it, kill it, butcher it, dissect it, bag it, wash it, distribute it for consumption, it's another process again of repeat, right? You know, because I would take it home, cut it up, wash it, butcher it more, separate it. You know what I mean? So there's so many processes involved by the time you eat it. And then what happens when you eat it? She said, I don't know. You poop it out. You poop it out like it's a piece of shit. Now, I said, do you want to be treated like that? Do you want to be butchered, distributed, separated, just to be pooped out at the end of his life? Then I said to her, do you know when you eat meat, you are actually eating the last fear of that animal. And when you eat fear, it brings down your energy. Any meat, animals, or anything that moves that God created has a soul inside of it. Because if it doesn't have a soul, it will let you do whatever you want with it, and it will not cry, it will not yell, it will not bark. You know what I mean? It will not run away from you when you're sending it fear. If those animals are like that, then they have no soul in them. To have a soul, you are able to feel and be felt. So other than chemicals and byproducts inside and outside of you, they're also feeding you animal products. So it can lower your energy every single second. August 13 will be my one year anniversary not eating meat. And I tell you, I will never go back again knowing what I know now. Going organic, literally, I shifted different dimension right now. I'm chemical free, I'm byproduct free, I'm meat free, I'm freaking clean. That's why my angels can inhabit my body, because my soul and body is clean. Stop feeding your kids.
Spiritual consequences of meat consumption and the lies that feed it. 1. Vibrational truth. You are what you eat. Every living being carries a frequency. When you eat meat, you're not just ingesting protein, you're absorbing fear. Most animals are killed in terror. That adrenaline, cortisol, and trauma imprint gets trapped in their tissues. When you eat that, you're integrating death energy, which lowers your vibration. Karma. Spiritually, taking in flesh from a being that didn't consent creates a karmic tether. It dulls empathy, blocks intuition, and severs your connection to higher consciousness over time. If slaughterhouses had glass walls, everyone would be vegetarian. 2. Mind Control 101. Meat as a tool of spiritual suppression. Let's talk programming. You've been taught meat equals strength. Lie. The strongest land animals, gorillas, elephants, are herbivores. You've been told protein only comes from meat. Lie. Plants provide complete amino acid profiles, especially when eaten in variety. You've been told we're apex predators. Lie. Our teeth, saliva, digestive tracts, all herbivore coded. The predator myth feeds the ego, not the soul. Why lie? Because a disempowered, low vibration population is easier to control, distract, and exploit. Meat keeps you tired, sick, and plugged into the system. 3. Physical consequences, meat and disease. On a material level, meat is tied to heart disease, cancer. Processed meats are group 1 carcinogens like cigarettes. Inflammation. Meat is acidic and the body needs to buffer that with calcium, often leached from your bones. And yes, animal agriculture is destroying the planet, contributing more to climate collapse than all global transportation combined. But no one wants to say that out loud. Why? Big ag, big pharma, big lies. Sick people's profit. Conscious people, not so much. And as 4, spiritual ascension. What happens when you let meat go? When people stop eating meat and processed animal products, they often report clearer dreams, heightened intuition, emotional balance, a deeper sense of compassion for all life. Why? Because you're no longer putting death inside of you. You begin to align with the vibration of life. This is why most spiritual masters, Jesus, Buddha, yogis, mystics, taught or lived plant-based. 5. The system isn't broken. It was built this way. Understand this. The meat industry isn't about health or necessity. It's about control. Feed people food that keeps them docile. Spiritually disarm them. Break their connection to their inner knowing. To awaken is to remember that most of what you were taught was a lie. Meat is more than food. It's a spiritual block disguised as tradition. Eating flesh is an old paradigm, one rooted in domination, fear, and disconnection. When you stop, you don't just change your diet, you reclaim your power.